Oh my. I'm not sitting right there.
Oh yeah. Yeah, sure. Oh my goodness. She's sending it. She just said expired. It's not like it's
Actually, there's a QR code to scan for
Welcome to Meet the Pros. Just want to make sure everybody knows to scan the QR code for your attendance. And if your teacher has invited you for extra credit, that will also be what gets sent out to the teachers to get extra credit. So I know Miss Alaris is giving extra credit. I'm not sure if anyone else is. But make sure to sign in with the QR code, and we'll get started here in about 1 minute. Okay, let's have everybody take their seat. The QR codes will be up after, so you can always sign up at the end. So we're really excited today to welcome Jonny Johnson from Lift Threads. He's actually a friend. He went to high school with Coach Orn, so he's who recommended him. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun. He's got some swag here, and he's got a really cool story of entrepreneurship. So I'll turn the time over to Jonny.
What's up, guys? Do I need to use this? Can you hear me? Okay. So yeah, you guys can hear me. No, perfect. That's definitely perfect. Okay, so like she said, I'm Jonny Johnson. I went to school at Bingham High School. I graduated a long, long time ago with Coach Orn. I've got some way cool stories, but he won't let me tell any of them. But no, he's like the best guy I know. We've been really, really good friends since, what, like 7th grade or something like that, right?
Long time.
One quick story I'll tell you about him. Did you guys know what they called him in high school? Okay, so we went to Bingham, and what was the school we hated above any school when we went to Bingham?
Alta
High School. Because you guys this school is always really good at sports, right? And so I got a scholarship in high school, not for being athletic. I wasn't very athletic, but I was in the stands, and we would prepare for Trav and Danny and all my buddies' basketball games from the stands. We'd figure out who the opposing players' girlfriends were, what the drama was from their high school. We'd show up an hour early, and we would stretch in front of the opposing team, right? And we would yell stuff at them the whole time. And it was like, I got a scholarship for it to UVU, full ride, 2 years. I never got my associate's degree. We'll talk about that in a second. Anyway, the reason why we didn't like Alta High School is because they were really good at that time too. And so when Trav started coaching here, that was when I became an Alta Hawks fan. So I am now converted. I'm an Alta fan because that guy back there, I went to the state championship game last year, So we're going to do peak this year. We're going to go get it done. But so this class right here is actually way cool. I was talking with Janet. How cool is it that you guys get to learn real world experience from people who have been through it, right? So it's an entrepreneurship thing. I'll kind of tell you the businesses I've started and I've sold. I think I've sold 9 businesses. I've started a couple, sold a couple. I've got partnerships that went really bad. I've got businesses that have done really bad. And I won't talk about all of them, but I'll talk about a couple of them. And then if you guys have any questions about anything, you guys just throw them my way, right? But this class right here, when I speak to organizations, I tell them the same thing. We're here for a 30, 45 minutes anyway. So you can either learn and take notes or you can sit there and not. And it doesn't matter to me either way. But I do hope that I say something that might trigger something in your mind to get you a little bit more excited about what you're going to do after high school. Because the reality is I'm the old guy in the room right now. I'm about 40 years old. I turned 40 this year. And I remember when I was in your guys' seats a long, long time ago, I remember thinking, oh, that doesn't really apply to me, right? Well, now that I'm 40 years old, I wish that when I was in your guys' seats, I'm the old guy in the room, I wish I would have paid more attention to what other people are doing, the opportunities that present themselves. Because the reality is, and we'll talk about this in a second, but this youth group right here could change like the course of the world, really. I mean, you think about the people who were like if you read about Elon Musk, if you read about all these guys, they didn't start when they were in their 30s, right? They showed genius when they were in high school, when they were younger than high school. And I think a lot of the times people think, oh, I'm too young for this, right? I'm too young to go start something. I'm too young to really go try. But if you think about the risk versus reward, like how many of you even have a mortgage?
A mortgage, what's that?
Where you pay for your house. How many of you guys own a home and you pay a mortgage on? How many of you guys, like the risk that you guys have, like I have 3 kids, I have a mortgage, I have other payments, so for me to go start something and take that risk is very difficult. For you guys in this room, I mean, you guys could go start a car washing business and spend, go do detailing or something, spend like $2,000 or $1,000, get a loan from your parents or something or whoever, and you can go start a business for that amount of money. And if it fails, like you're not losing your house, right? Like you're not losing a whole lot of substantial things. Like if my business fails, I got 3 mouths to feed. I got my wife. I've got other employees that depend on me. So I always tell when I talk to, especially like youth, like the younger generation, like go try it. Like go get your feet and like try it. Because if you try it and you fail, you'll learn from it and you'll get better, right? But as you wait and your risk gets more and more and you get into a 9-to-5 job and you're working, it's a lot harder to take yourself away from that and try to live, and do these dreams that you have and create like a business or create like a lifestyle that you want to have, right? So the reason why, anyway, and if there's ever any questions, you guys just raise your hands right in the middle. I don't care. I like participation. So the reason why I wanted to be an entrepreneur, the reason why I wanted to start my own businesses was my dad did construction growing up. And my dad was like, okay, every summer, in fact, I worked on Travis's house one summer. Do you remember that? My dad's trailer ran down the back of your house and into that tree. I did construction. Construction's manual labor. It's hard, right? And so I remember specifically my senior year, I said, I don't want to work for anybody. I want to work for myself. And so I started my first business. I served in LDS mission to the Philippines. That I got back. My dad said, hey, you're coming to work with me. I said, no, I'm going to do landscaping, which was a really dumb idea because I didn't know what I was doing. But I just went door to door and I started knocking on people's doors and I got a bunch of accounts. I started mowing lawns. And again, I was just trying to learn as I go. I got neighbors that were really nice. I don't think I did a very good job on their lawns and stuff. Anyway, I did that for a while, and then I realized like that also really wasn't my cup of tea. And so I started doing door-to-door sales. And there's a reason why I'll tell you about the door-to-door sales. So door-to-door sales, it enabled me to go out for a summer. Okay, well, and then I would go to college, and that's where I met my wife. And then I would get money, and then instead of going and spending it, I would go start businesses. So we'll kind of talk about the businesses I started, and then we'll talk about that fast, and we'll get into the business that I currently run and own and operate, some of the cool things about that. And so the number one thing you need if you want to be an entrepreneur is a little bit of capital, right? You guys all know capital, like an amount of money you can start and fund a business and invest in a business. And so I went out for the first summer to essentially start a business. I didn't know what business that was. I also went out because I had met who's now my wife, way out of my league. I met her at school, and I knew I wanted to marry her. I knew if I was going to marry her, I had to create some sort of just comfort for her, knowing that I was going to be able to do something, right? So I started the landscape company. Problem is, I didn't know that I could sell it, right? And so I just I just kind of let that one go. And then in the meantime, I had a neighbor that had a bunch of DJ equipment, and I am good at sales. So I told my buddy, I said, hey, I'm going to go sell this DJ. Like, I'm going to go sell our services, and then what I want you to do is go and you DJ. He's like, hey, deal. DJ James. Right? So I went out and I got the accounts for Wasatch High School, for Bingham High School, for Riverton High School, and we started doing all their stuff, right? And this is one of those things in entrepreneurship that happens sometimes. I worked my butt off. I was meeting with schools. We were getting the accounts. We had dances at Brighton. We had dances at Alta. No, maybe, I don't know. Anyway, we had a bunch of accounts. Well, I knew I was going to get married, and so I decided to go out for, and mind you, my business partner, we didn't sign anything, because he's one of my really good friends. We didn't write anything on paper, we didn't have anything, and this is lesson number one that I learned. And so I was like, hey, buddy, I got to go out to San Diego to sell home alarm systems. I've done all the legwork, you haven't done anything to this point, all I need you to do is show up with these 3 dances. That was it, that was all I need to do. 3 dances over the summer, that's it, and then we'll continue when we get back. So I'm out knocking doors in San Diego. I still remember this street I was on. And my buddy called me, or no, sorry, the teacher from Bingham High School called me and said, hey, we have a dance in an hour. You're not here yet, where are you? And I was like, what, that's weird. So I'm thinking, oh, my buddy's in a car accident, because he's punctual. So I called my buddy and I said, hey, I was like, you okay? Like, what's going on? He's like, actually, I'm sitting in the parking lot. He's like, there's been a change of plans. Mind you, I'm in San Diego. And he goes, I'm not going to go in this school unless you give me 100% of the company, and I don't want to pay you anything for it. Now, mind you, I had spent months getting these accounts, right? Months. You had to sign anything because he's a friend. So I said, dude, like, that's not fair. He's like, well, it's not really fair. I know that, but like, what are you going to do? You're in San Diego. You left me for the summer. So one of my first experiences with entrepreneurship ended like in a crash. Finally, I'm like, yeah, just go do the dance. We cannot not do the dance. There's a bunch of high school kids. Have fun at dances, they're way fun, right? I live for that crap. So if we didn't show up, we'd ruin the whole dance. So I told him to go to the dance. Anyway, he did the same thing at the next dance and the same thing at the next dance. Till finally I was just like, I don't know what you want. I got home, he had taken all the accounts, told him I was no longer a part of the business, and that was it. So one of my very first experiences with entrepreneurship with a partner didn't end very well, right? So I started going out and I started doing summer sales again. Well, in 2010, I was president of sales for a home alarm company. And how many of you guys in here understand like what swag is? Like what company apparel is? So tell me like what your idea of what company apparel is.
It's kind of an item of clothing that has the brand.
Right, and so everyone in here is wearing, like I say, American Eagle. I saw Utah Jazz and Alta, like that's brand or swag for a company. Well, I was the president of sales, and that's also a way to build culture, right? Like if you have really cool gear, then people wear your gear and it starts culture. And there's culture built around brands. I could say different brands, and you guys like if I say Lululemon, you automatically kind of know if people who are wearing Lululemon are a certain culture, right? If I say like this type of brand, and there's a certain culture built around that brand. Our culture was garbage at this company, and we didn't have very good swag. So we went with one company, and they were terrible. We went with another company, and they were terrible. So I decided, all right, I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to learn how to design. I'm going to learn how to so in print promo, there's a bunch of wholesale companies. So like I'm looking around the room, and I can see like that hoodie's probably a Gildan hoodie. Like if you look at the tag, that's a brand, right? And then you buy those blanks. That hoodie might be at IND 4000, IND an independent trading company hoodie. So there's these brands that just build blank shirts. And then how print promo works is you buy a bunch of these blank shirts or blank hoodies or blank hats or blank whatever, and then you take them to a spot where you've done the design, and then you give them to this company, and then they print on them, and then you take them and you give them to your guys, right? Well, we just had bad situation after bad situation. I'm over the swag, I'm over the culture. So I just decided, all right, I want to figure this out. So that's why I like these classes. Because if I could tell you, like, learn stuff, learn Illustrator, right? Like, learn how to do design work, learn how to do that stuff, because that would help me a ton. I didn't think about it. And so I taught myself Illustrator. Who in here does Illustrator? Who in here is in a design class? Hey, you. Okay. How easy is it just to teach yourself Illustrator? Mind you, I didn't have YouTube. Well, I probably did in 2010, but I didn't know how to use it, right? So I'm just on Illustrator trying to figure it out. And then I ended up designing a few really cool pieces of clothing. And I thought, man, I really like this. Because there's nothing better in the whole world than to see someone wearing your gear that you created. Like, there's nothing better, right? Like, it's the coolest thing. And so when I saw that, I was like, I really like this. In the meantime, people were asking me, hey, can you design some stuff for me? So I started designing stuff for small companies. I ended up creating a company called The Company Apparel. And I started doing apparel for companies. What that means is I would design for them, and then I would get the wholesale accounts, and then I would essentially drop them off at a printer or an embroiderer, and then they would do the bulk, and then I would go deliver it, and I would make a margin, right? So I started the company. I didn't have so at this point I didn't have any employees. I didn't have anything else, and so it was just me, and I was still the president of one company. So I ended up partnering later on with the guys, sold that company, partnered with another company, and then we started a company called Fresco Press. So I don't know if this might be out. Have you guys ever heard of Ribbon Gear? Okay, so that was my first experience with a brand. Ribbon Gear is a fight brand back in started in 2009, we sold it in 2015. But anyway, we're going to speed this up a little bit. So I ended up selling Fresco Press back, and then in 2019, and in the meantime, like I've owned a trailer dealership, and that was fun. I've sold that. I've owned a few different landscape companies and sold those. I think my niche is where I'll go into a company and I'll purchase an equity piece in that company, and then I'll make it a little bit better, and we'll like make it so we infuse with capital, then we get our margins higher, and then we get the gross higher, and then I'll sell it back to the company, or we'll sell it to the company. That's kind of what I've done over the last couple years. But I found like this love and passion for apparel, okay? And so in 2019, I had a brother-in-law or a cousin-in-law who was really, really good at designing, terrible at sales, so I partnered with him. And we had a company, we were giving away cars. So how many of you guys have heard of Diesel Brothers? 80/80. Okay, 80/80 gives away like Lamborghinis there with Stratton. You guys know Stratton? Okay. So 80/80, so we did the same thing, but we gave away like vintage FJ Cruisers. You guys know what vintage FJ Cruisers are? They're sweet. So, but that wasn't my passion. My passion isn't cars. I can't change the oil in my car. Like, that's not my passion, but my passion was apparel and design. So there's a big problem in the industry, right? So, you guys know what the barrier to entry means? So it's how hard it is to get into something. Anyone in this room could go start a print and promo company today. It's that easy. All you have to do is you have to go find your wholesale accounts, a printer, and a embroiderer, and then you have to figure out your margins, and then you just go market it. It's really that easy. So in Utah, you can't throw a rock and not hit somebody that owns a print and promo business. There's that many. Literally, there's that many. So, I mean, I bet Trav gets hit up all the time. People, hey, I want to print your. So my partner ended up buying me out of the Cruiser promo side, or the Cruiser gear side, and then I took the Cruiser promo side, rebranded it to Lift. And then at this point, I was like, okay, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to sell. So I sold the trailer dealership. I got out of selling solar at the time, and I just started my brand. This was in 2021. So the brand is called Lift Threads. So, side note, if you get on Instagram, Lift Threads, follow us. It's pretty fun. I'll tell you the kind of cool things it's brought. So this is kind of what I want you to learn. When you're building a business, you need to identify a problem, right? So I don't care what business you're in, but if you think about it, why was Google built? They identified a problem, right? There's this internet thing. But like, how do we use this internet thing? So they got together and said, well, we're going to create this. We're going to name it Google. Who knows where they came up with that word? That's good. Okay, cool. And then we're going to create this thing that's going to help. And now it's huge, right? Like Facebook. If you watch the Facebook, you know they identified a problem. Okay. Now, whatever happened at Harvard, I don't know if you really know, but where was it Harvard? I don't know. Anyway, they identified a problem. They fixed the problem. Like if you look at any business, if you look at it, if it's a successful business, the owner or the operator identified a problem first. And then they got obsessed about fixing the problem, okay, creating a solution. So in my line of work, what I do now, there's a few different problems that we identified. So before I started Lift Promos, and I'll kind of explain the umbrella. So it's called Cruiser Promo Solutions. Cruiser Promo Solution owns Lift Threads, lift promos, lift media, lift fulfillment, okay? And so that it's kind of the umbrella company over those. And for each one of those different companies, we decided that there was problems. So the first problem was anyone in here can go start a company that prints those Utah Jazz beanies, right? Because it's easy. So I decided that if I'm gonna get back into promo, I wanted to start designing my own clothes. And so at this point, I've designed about 800 SKUs, so about 40 different pieces of apparel. So like I designed this. Like I designed the shirt I'm wearing underneath. I designed the socks I'm wearing. I designed everything on this table, including who's a big guy. He's a 2XL. He's the biggest guy. Nobody. Oh, that guy right there. There. You got to wear them. So anyway, I designed those shorts. So anyway, the thing that I did is I realized there was a problem that when you're doing print promo and you're bidding against every single person that's in the same, that has a next level t-shirt, and if you guys were to check your tags, probably 10 to 15% of you are wearing a next level t-shirt or an independent trading company hoodie. So I would go to my clients and they would say, well, this guy will do it for 10 cents cheaper a shirt. And I'm like I hate that because I feel like I create value in other ways and I don't want to give up any of my margin. So what I did is I took that problem, right? The problem is everyone's bidding with the same blanks, and then there's plastisol, there's water-based ink, there's acid dye bead. That's how you print, right? There's embroidery. So there's really you can't really make that better. And so I decided if I'm gonna get back into it, I have to design my own blanks. But in the entire marketplace, there wasn't a blanks area. Like there was no blanks that were like a Lululemon type quality or Yuri, I can't say it. Yuri, what is it? D-O-U-R-I, that brand? Anyway. So I wanted to create a space where companies, because I have some very high-end clients, could take my blanks and put their logos on them, or I could take my blanks and put other people's logos on them, but I wouldn't be competing with every single other person in the valley that owns a print promo company. And so again, I was like, all right, there's the problem. I identified the problem. The problem is there's too many companies that do the exact same thing, and there's really no value add if I continue doing that. So I found, and mind you, this is during COVID, right? So I found the different manufacturers overseas. I started designing clothes. Now, if you knew me from high school, like Chad did, I wore a Bees t-shirt. Well, first of all, I was 280 pounds in high school, and I wasn't any taller. So think about that, okay? I had a mullet that was bleached before mullets were cool, and I had steps in the mullet before it was cool, okay? Like, I'm not a fashionable guy. I've never have been. I wear what's comfortable. And so when I told my wife, because not a lot has changed for Johnny Johnson. Like, I don't wear suits. Like, I present in front of tons and tons of people, and I wear this because I'm comfortable, right? So I told my wife, I'm going to start designing clothes, and she kind of laughed, and she's like, okay. Okay, like whatever. So anyway, I started designing clothes because in my mind there was a huge problem in our industry that no one else had solved. There was no, and who knows who the Nelk boys are? Nelk boys? Okay, the guy who designed their brand actually broke off and is doing the exact same thing that I'm doing. So we vertically integrated the entire process from A to B for blank apparel. What that means is my clients can now use my blank apparel, right? And we'll take these very, very unique, how much time? 5 minutes? Okay. Take these very, very unique custom pieces and we'll put their logos on them in a very unique custom way. Okay, so that was one of the problems. I only got 5 minutes. The other problem is people had to do 25, runs of 25 of everything. And we figured out a way that we could take logos, like this logo. And so we could order these logos from overseas and we could put them on. So what we did is we took all the problems that we found and we created solutions for them. And so in the last year and a half with LiftThreads, and go to liftthreads.com, I created a discount code for you guys, Alta20, you get 20% off everything on the site. We have, in about a year and a half, we went from literally nothing, like no sales, to this year we'll do 6 million in sales. One of my biggest clients, who's sort of bucked up, who likes their energy drinks? Oh, you gotta like their energy drinks, they're awesome. They're one of my biggest clients, so I actually design and manufacture all of Bucked Up's higher end. You know, it's Colgate, a toothpaste brand. Okay, because what we did, we defined the problem and we created solutions. We do a lot of Colgate's apparel, not all of it. Who knows what the pickler is, the pickleball courts? No, maybe not. We design all their clothes and apparel too. So I guess what I'm trying to say is if you guys want to get into a spot number one thing you got to do, and if you don't write anything, you don't remember anything, if you want to start a business, the number one thing you've got to do is make sure you're crazy passionate about it. Because there's been nights where I didn't sleep all night. Because when we started, it was me and my wife in my basement, heat pressing stuff. Like, I started out of my basement, right? Like, that's what we did. And it was like 4 in the morning, I can't keep my eyes open, I'm working. Number one thing you have to do is you have to have passion, a passion project. Whatever it is, you have to love it. Like, I love wearing apparel, I love more seeing people. Number 2 is you have to understand it's not easy. Like, being an entrepreneur, running a business, like, it's not easy. It's not, like, you have to love it so much that you're okay taking an L every now and again because you love it so much and you believe in it so much. Entrepreneurs take, yeah.
Like, how steep was your career? You were saying that you like start and drop companies. Like, is there any part where it's like, all right, I just sold the company, I'm looking around, I'm not finding any luck, like?
So that's a really good question. So where we're at now, we're pretty stable. There's a thing called residual income where you get money every month regardless of what happens. And we set up a bunch, and we can talk about it another time, but we set up those so we get money every month regardless if we sell anything or not because companies are paying us monthly for some software and stuff. And then our company is actually a very marketable company because when you go to a VC, like a company that buys big companies, they would love our company because we can bring their margins down on all the other companies they own by creating better apparel for those companies. So it's a very marketable company. We did think about that when we started this company and dumped a ton of money into it is it a marketable company? Can we sell this at the end? What's our exit strategy? But also, I love this. I love doing what I do so much that, like, I don't know if I'll ever sell it. Like, I don't know. I love it. Like, I love going to work every day. I love working with who I work with. In fact, all my employees are all moms. When their kids go to school, they come to work, and then when their kids get out of school, they go home. So my employees work from 9 to 3. So that's a really good question. Anyway, and then the other thing is just know that if you're starting a business, you've got to work really hard. Like, you got to work 80 hours so you don't have to work 40 for somebody else, 80 hours a week. So there was a little bit more I get to talking and I start talking, but I need to know, do you guys have any questions about what I do or anything like that?
Wait.
Yeah.
Oh wait, train of thought, I loved it.
Okay, if you remember, just let me know. Anything else? Any other questions? Okay, I've got shirts and stuff up here, shorts and stuff that are not, sell stuff, but if you had a question? So,
Wait,
yeah.
I just remember now. What's your favorite design that you made?
So we came out with a thing called the Belichick. You know who Bill Belichick is. So he cuts off his hoodie, right? So I made a cut-off hoodie, but it's we call it our Sunday Comfy fabric. It's like the most comfortable fabric you've ever worn. We have a whole line of Sunday Comfies. That's probably my favorite. But good question. What size are you?
Christian, what size are you?
Anything else? Any other questions? Yeah.
Oh, what's your favorite color?
My favorite color is blue. It's a great question.
Blue.
Huh? That's the question. Okay. What? Yeah, so this is actually a fabric that I made. This is one thing that happened too. I made this fabric, it's a tri-blend, and then I got a sample, and the sample was amazing. So we ordered 5,000 of them, and they came in this color instead of the color that we had the sample of. So I have a spot called the graveyard where we just have a bunch of stuff that came wrong. Yeah. Sorry, I can't hear you. What? How did I do that? How did I find the manufacturers? I just started asking people that I know, and I started just cold calling. And then for clients and stuff, I just pulled some. Just one. Sorry, guys.
Not a shirt.
Good.